Grand Solar Flash Update, August 15th. 5D is going to be more beautiful and amazing than I expected. I'm here to tell you that the shift is here. It is happening now. 3D is over. 5D is coming for Earth and nothing can stop it. As always, question your reality and then change it. Please be sure to show up every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the live guided interdimensional meditation. And that's really what I'm here to talk to you about. We did one yesterday. This is Thursday evening, August 15th, where I'm at. And holy crap, what happened? We did the live guided meditation yesterday, and I don't know what the experience was like for you, but for me, I keep saying this, I've never felt anything like that. And yesterday was incredibly powerful for me, so much so that I was worthless all day. I woke up and then, my whole body was buzzing and I couldn't, I ended up having to take a huge nap. I tried to get a little bit of 3D stuff done, and then I just had to go collapse. So, things are definitely happening, and the experiences that I had yesterday, really, if I think about it, it's that I'm allowing myself to expand into them. But the thing that struck me in the last meditation yesterday was the colors. You kept on hearing me talk about these rainbow colors, but I just kept seeing them. And they were so phenomenal and so amazing. And it was so empowering to feel the energies of consciousness, of God, if you will, encouraging me to expand even more and more into that space. And when we were chanting the Huar breath, we if you remember, we chanted it into the center of the galaxy, the galactic center, and then we went and chanted it around Earth. And I really felt myself seemingly completely totally becoming part of that and losing myself to that. And the energy, of course, was very powerful. And today I just my body, I don't know, I honestly don't know if I should back off a little bit or what, but gonna sneeze. Sorry, somebody called that a dad sneeze. It only looks like a dad sneeze because I'm older. If I did that exact sneeze when I was 25, it would sound exactly the same. But yeah, my dad had a dad sneeze also. Anyway, so I don't really have a whole lot to say other than I just want to encourage you to understand that it's here. The shift that we've been hearing about is here. It may not have arrived in the way that we had thought, and I think there's a few reasons for this. I think one is that I've learned is that there is a reality out there that is not the same as the reality here in the third dimension. And we've got it backwards. I still do. I still seek to have the third dimension validate my higher dimensional experience. And that doesn't jive with common sense. If we are in fact in a matrix, if we are in a simulation, a dream, then it doesn't make sense to have the false dream tell you what's real. It's when we wake up from the dream that we're in, actual reality, that we go, oh, this is reality. I was just dreaming. So when we're in the dream and we're trying to have the dream tell us what's real, we're at odds with ourselves. And then, of course, we end up with that very understandable dilemma of, well, hold on a second. Have I lost my mind? Because if you give up this reality, that's what crazy people do. And there are crazy people in the world. There are insane, crazy people, and they don't live in objective reality. They're lost in their own delusions or their fears or their paranoia or whatever. So, but the difference is that when you tap into higher dimensions, you awaken to a more loving, generous state of being. So the reality is that people who are deluded become more narcissistic. They become more selfish, they become more paranoid, they become more abusive, they become more frightened, they become more secretive, all of that. And they also don't ask if they've lost their mind. They think everybody else has lost their mind. So if you're doing this work with me, there's a good chance that you're having the opposite experience, where you experience, in the interdimensional meditations, you're waking up to reality, and it's very shocking to wake up to that. And at the same time, it's very liberating and very amazing and very wonderful. And you find out that you are far more amazing and powerful than you ever thought possible. And in the third dimension, when you think about it, it sounds very grandiose, very, very narcissistic. It's what we think narcissists are, because that's how they present themselves. Narcissists present themselves as being grandiose and full of themselves and thinking of themselves as godly and perfect, but that is a projection. It is a false identity. It's not how they actually feel about themselves. It's a lie. It's a denial. It's a defense mechanism. So that's why they're attached to it. They're attached to whatever their delusion is. Whereas if you're doing interdimensional meditation, we're not attached. In fact, we struggle to accept it. It's taken me a while to accept the idea that, that's me out there. That's how it feels. I actually morph into all kinds of things when I'm out there. I turn into stars. I turn into galaxies. I become all kinds of things. They're very grandiose, and as I've said to you guys, that everybody here on planet Earth is a deity. You're not just a soul, you're a deity. You're unbelievably powerful and amazing. You happen to have all of your perception squished down into a third dimensional video game character. So, when you're in your video game character, the idea of being this grandiose deity doesn't make sense, and it feels delusional. But the other thing that's different is that when you expand into your 5D deity self, you're more loving, you're more kind, you're more patient, you're more accepting, you have more empathy, you have more compassion. So it's an interesting shift. And my belief is that the people who will be able to shift up to the highest frequency are just that. They'll be able to shift up to the highest experience of themselves. So, all of us are different, and we're in different places in this transformation, so I don't expect you to have the same experience as me. We all have our own roles to play. And having said that, I forgot what I was going to say. But you know, it had to do with expanding into who we truly are. And what's interesting is that when I'm out there, and I know other people who have shared their experiences as well, when they're out there, the light beings very much encourage you and start telling you things that we experience as being grandiose and narcissistic and, you know, unbelievable. And part of it is because it not only goes against our third dimensional experience of being devalued, which is the frequency of the third dimension is self-devaluation, but our religions have done this. You know, in the monotheist religions, if you say you're God, you're blaspheming. So much so that if I were to have said that just a couple, 200-300 years ago, they might kill me for that. You know, so you can't say that. You're not allowed to be God. So when we go up into higher dimensions and these very beautiful beings of light start to tell you that you are God, it's very traumatizing, because our internal self-defense mechanism is going to fight against that, because we've been trained. We can't come back and say that, because then what's going to happen? They'll string you up, they'll flay you alive. They've done that. Humans have done that. It's not as bad now, but it's still pretty much that way. So I definitely don't go around, when I go to the grocery store or whatever, I certainly don't go around telling everybody who they are and who I am. But, I'm feeling this shift getting more and more. And again, it's like I said, the energy was so intense, so powerful. That I've been worthless all day. Like I said, I had to collapse and take a nap and just lie down. I tried to get up and function, and I just couldn't. Didn't go to the gym, didn't go surfing, didn't get a whole lot of work done. I had to collapse. So I'm looking forward to, if my experience so far is evidence of what's coming, it's probably going to continue to be a struggle between wanting to collapse into the third dimensional reality and stay safe, or expand into the higher dimensional reality, which again is unbelievably, amazingly beautiful. It's like almost too beautiful. And all of the spiritual experiences I had when I was younger and as a kid now make sense, and I'll share one of them with you. I've shared it on the channel before, but if you're newer to the channel, maybe you haven't heard this. So when I was 7 years old, and there was a bunch of things that happened, a bunch of supernatural experiences happened, which I won't take the time to talk about, but one of them was, I went to bed one night and went to sleep, and while I was asleep, my soul got pulled out of my body, and I ended up coming out of my body and floating up, and anyway, let me finish the story first. I got pulled out of my body, and I floated up out of my body, and I floated up out of Earth's atmosphere, and then I was out in space, and then there was this bright white light out in the distance, and I got pulled towards this light, and then I was pulled into the light. And when I was in the light, I had this absolutely explosively orgasmic, blissful experience. The first few moments of being in the light and expanding into the light, the orgasmic experience was a little too much, and it frightened me, and I was worried, and it was scary. but it was blissful and amazing. And then all of a sudden, it got to a point where I expanded beyond that. And then, of course, I was in complete bliss, and I was no longer a human. And I was just, my 7-year-old words, I came back and said I was just a big smile. And my smile went, bigger than my face, is kind of the words that I said. And the light was so bright that it would have burned out my human eyeballs. These are the things I came back talking about. And as I was expanding into this orgasmic bliss of this white light I was in, I heard myself saying, "I'm home, I'm home, I'm home." And then very calmly and very gently, the experience started to fade, and I could feel myself, coming out of the light. And I was very sad. I was like, no, 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 I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to leave home. No, no, no. And then I floated back through space and floated back into Earth's atmosphere. And as soon as I hit Earth's atmosphere, I heard all of the human fears, and you could hear all the people talking and screaming and frightening and scared and sad. And I was really, struck with, wow, there's so much, human sadness and garbage here. And then I got back in my body, and as I was back in my body, I woke up. Now, I didn't know what that meant for years. At that point in my life, I was young and I was a Christian. So I told people that I saw Jesus. The truth is, I didn't see Jesus. I didn't see any being. I didn't see any God. And there was no voice. No voice spoke to me and said, "I am God." What I experienced was this bright, white, blissful light of orgasmic bliss that I became one with. But I had to put it in terms that my third dimensional mind could understand and that other people could understand. But it wasn't until after I left Christianity that I thought about that, and I said, wait a minute, I never saw Jesus. No voice said I am God. I didn't have a biblical God experience. It wasn't anything like that. And then, of course, I realized it was a lot more along the lines of what we experience now is a mystical experience of unity with the cosmos and unity with consciousness and all of that. But what's important to me at this point is that what I experienced in that dream, that vision, that out-of-body experience, however you want to look at it, was that as I was merging with the light, I was simultaneously having an orgasmic, blissful state, and I was also struggling against it, and it was frightening and scary. And I can't say it was painful, but it was definitely like too much for a split second until then it really exploded. And again, it reminds me of I don't know what yours was like, my first orgasm. It was too much for the first split second, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. So it was like that. So the reason I'm saying that is that's I'm having more prolonged similar experience. The meditation experience we had last night, I did make the conscious choice to expand into it. I did do some of the Mao Shan practices beforehand, so I would tap into higher dimensions. So that increased the experience. By the way, if you're wanting to increase your experience, then do your Mao Shan practices. Do the Awakening the Immortals, or if you're doing the 5-element Mao Shan practices, do that. Because that will, and if you do that with the intention of allowing yourself to have greater experiences in your shamanic journey, by all means you will. But even if you're doing the 90-day challenge or whatever, that will help. I want to be clear, though. There are some people that no matter how many practices they do, they run into a block. Not very often, but I've run into a couple of people where that's happened. For those people, I recommend doing the 12 steps to 5D. And I recommend that you find a group to do it with. So you may want to go to a 12-step group. Even if it's, I don't know, 12-step group, I don't know. You can go look for one. But if in doubt, go in and work with a counselor. Work with somebody that can help you tap into your feelings, to get past your blocks. Because if you're in an emotional blocked state, like if you've got unresolved anger, if you've got unresolved trauma, and or if you're using mind-altering chemicals, that is going to inhibit your ability to have an experience. So I recommend that you do whatever it takes. So what I've found is that to go through this shift, this 5D awakening, you're going to have to do that one thing you don't want to do. There have been people who've worked with me, a very small minority of people who have worked with me who do all of the practices, and they'll do the mantras and they'll do the meditations and all that. They might have an experience, but then they end up feeling blocked. And what I've come to find out is that there's some unresolved emotional trauma. There's some unresolved anger, unresolved sadness, unresolved pain, fear, whatever it is. And the practices themselves won't fix you. You're going to have to find something else. And what's interesting is when I've suggested to people to do, what you need is to go to this 12-step program, get a sponsor, work the 12 steps, or you need to work with a counselor and a therapist. That's the one thing that they won't do. They'll do everything else that I suggest, but they won't do that. And the one thing that you refuse to do, the one thing that you say, I can't do that, that's the thing you're going to need to do the most. That's the block. We are all going to have to face our blocks, our biggest blocks, whatever they are. And I'm facing mine. This has not, from the very beginning, if you go back 2 years and watch my videos from when I first started interacting with the mantis beings, you will see me going through tremendous, challenging, I was physically damaged. I damaged myself physically. I couldn't function. So I'm going through the same kinds of things you are. That's one of the reasons that we have this, that's something else. That's one of the reasons that we have this live Zoom class. This is so that we can all come together and support ourselves in going through this process, facing the one thing that you're afraid to face. And just like my experience, it is this weird contradiction where the thing that we're most afraid of is the thing that's going to give us the greatest joy and bliss. And this, we will all be forced to have that Odin experience where we sacrifice ourselves to ourselves. For some people, it's going to mean, stop smoking weed every day and meditate every day. For some people, it's going to be, go to a 12-step group and get a sponsor and work the 12 steps. For other people, it's going to be working with a therapist. Now, to be clear, I was in therapy for over 30 years, and I'm here to tell you that therapy by itself, the talk therapy, there are other kinds of modalities of therapy that have action to them, which are, I'm not talking about all forms of therapy, but your basic Jungian talk therapy. By itself, my experience is it doesn't bring complete healing. But therapy, if one needs it, combined with programs of action like the 12 steps, or like the 12 steps to 5D, or like the 90-day challenge, when you combine that with therapy, you've got a winning combination. Now, not everybody needs that. But whatever it is that you need, that one thing that you're afraid to do, that you're just unwilling to let go of, that's going to have to be the thing you're going to have to do. Because it's that one block that's preventing you from really experiencing bliss. And until you face it, it's going to be frightening to you. And that's just the way it is. If human beings, the way we are, the truth is human beings never grow until it gets too painful. And then they grow. The reason I've done all the work that I've done, all the 12-step work that I've done, all of the therapy, all of the meditation, all of the spiritual practices, and even the stuff I'm doing now. The only reason I've done that is because I don't have a choice. If I don't do those things, I end up in a really bad spot. And if I hadn't done the work that I had done when I was younger, if I hadn't spent decades working the 12 steps, I'd be dead. If I didn't do the spiritual practices, the spirit fighting, it's very likely I would have ended up dead. So not everybody has that experience where they're forced to do something. I was lucky that if I didn't do it, I'd end up dead. But that's what ended up putting me in the place where I'm at now, where here I am, a 60-year-old guy, and I've got so much experience and knowledge that I can share with you. It's because I had to stay alive. Some of you don't have to do that. But I encourage you to, and listen, if everything is happening for you and you're expanding, I'm not telling you to take on more than you can handle. I'm not telling you to, if it's working for you, don't fix it. But if you're one of those people where you're blocked, you've got to be willing to do that one thing, whatever that is. That one thing that you just refuse to do or refuse to look at. And I've given you some examples. Going to a 12-step group, working with a therapist, committing to the 90-day challenge, quitting smoking weed every day, stop drinking, whatever your thing is. We all have that one thing that's blocking us from having an Odin experience of awakening. So anyway, but the beauty is that I'm struggling against my own resistance to the amazing beautifulness of 5D, but my instinct tells me, without a doubt, and the light beings are continuously interacting with me and helping to guide me into being, I'm not needing them to do everything for me. They're guiding me into having my own experience, which is a lot of what these meditations are that we do. But I'm there with you. Whatever it is that you're going through, I'm going through my version of that as well. But I can tell you that the bliss and the beauty and the amazingness of what's waiting for us is beyond what you can comprehend, and it'll be so worth it. Unbelievably worth it. And it's happening. It's coming. 5D is coming. So I'll stop babbling at that point, my friends. I love you all, and I constantly think about all of you, even if I don't know you personally. All of you who are following the channel, I'm always meditating for you, and when I go talk to my friends, I tell them, please take care of my friends, please give them an experience, please reach out to them. You can do that if you go out and do interdimensional meditation. You can say, I'm a friend of Mahadeva. Can I talk to somebody? I've told them, go work with my friends. Go help my friends. So anyway, we'll leave it there. So that's it. You guys know what to do. ThunderWizard.com, the shop, all of that. It keeps me from being homeless. I'm working through a lot of debt right now, so it allows me to stay alive and pay my bills and keep this channel going. So I'd really love your support. You can also just hit the $ button on there if you want to. Anytime you watch a video, you can always contribute that way. But just doing what you need to do to take care of you is also very important. It's the most important thing. doing the practices, doing the meditations, and showing up to these meditations. The more of us that show up, the more powerful we are and the greater effect we have on this third dimension shifting. So let's keep it going. Please take very good care of yourselves. I love you all very much. And please remember that you are the most important being that has ever existed. You are lovable simply because you exist. There is nothing you can do to be more lovable than you already are right now. And please know that the entire universe was created solely for your personal enjoyment. And whenever you live your life from your joy, all consciousness evolves, including the gods themselves that get on their knees and bow before you, as do I. Thank you for creating this universe and for creating me and allowing me to be here and to share this experience with you. Until next time, my friends, please take very good care of yourselves.